You're very welcome, Lon, to the Matchbook Football Podcast. We're back to preview a new Premier League weekend after the FA Cup weekend and some great storylines, in fairness, from the FA Cup. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, and joined each and every week by Mark O'Haire and Adrian Clarke. Before we get going, and I am terrible for asking this throughout the season, but if you can take 2 seconds, hit that like button wherever you're watching or listening. And if you comment anything you have for Mark and Adrian, we'll try and get a few more questions throughout the season. So very much always interested in your comments. We read each and every one of them, and we can bring some into the show if you'd like to ask the guys anything betting related, football related, or whatever you'd like. And last thing before we get going, if you haven't got a Matchbook account yet, we do see a lot of people this season in particular coming and joining the Matchbook Betting Exchange. You get the best odds on the odds checker grid, usually the day before or the day of, but you also get the benefits of a sportsbook with the bet builder options as well. You can enter the bonus code POD50, POD50, and get £50 worth in free bets when you bet 50. So, lads, we'll get straight into it. We're going to start with the Manchester derby. We have Spurs, West Ham, Forest, Arsenal, Brighton versus Bournemouth. If you're new, we cover the 4 marquee Premier League games the guys pick out. We do in any other bets, long shots, and best bets. So, Mark, we'll start with you. This game is an early kickoff. It is going to be on Sky, though. They flipped around with TNT. Manchester derby. We have to start with Michael Carrick. Why am I not, as someone on the outside looking in, why am I not just getting why they're doing this interim thing and then getting more options in the summer? There's a lot going on. I'm not really sold on this Michael Carrick appointment, and try and sell it to me before making your selection.
Cheers, Dan. I'm not really sold on it either, to be honest, but needs must, I guess. And if they are going to go after a bigger name, a sort of high caliber coach towards the top end of the spectrum across Europe, then they will have to wait to the summer when more options become available. So yes, they interviewed Carrick, I believe Solskjaer, possibly a couple of others. They plunked for Carrick. He's obviously had previous experience there. I think 3 games in charge previously, and he's had that recent experience as well at Middlesbrough. He is a very forward-thinking coach, and being the Man United way, I think that probably suited the board, directors, and the decision makers. What I would say, I mean, Adrian can probably add to this, but from what I remember of his Middlesbrough team, they were quite proactive, front foot, possession heavy, but often had a bit of a soft underbelly as well. And I think at times probably neglected the defensive side of the game. So eager to see how he approaches his opportunity with Manchester United. I'd be surprised and disappointed if they didn't try and take the game to Man City this weekend, get the crowd on side, get the crowd behind them with a front foot approach. Not least because of the injury issues that Man City have in their back line. No Stones, no Diaz, no Gvardiol. We saw them shift Ake to left back in midweek, Alain sort of partnering Kuzanov, and the option there to have O'Reilly back at left back as well, Ake at centre half. But you're not going to get a chance to play Man City when they're missing their 3 best centre backs too often. So there is an opportunity here, and Man United will have a stronger team than they have in recent weeks, with Ahmad and Mbeumo available again after AFCON. Bruno's back, Maguire's back, and depending how Morocco get on Wednesday, you may even have Mazraoui. Oh no, he won't, because there's the 3rd and 4th place playoff. So ignore that. But you're basically looking at De Ligt as the main absentee here. So team selection from Carrick will be interesting. They didn't show any sort of new manager bounce when Fletcher took the reins after Amorim was sacked. They faced Burnley and Brighton under Fletcher. You could say, though, that City haven't been in the best form themselves either. Both of these 2 teams have drawn 3 on the spin in the Premier League. City did get that win at Newcastle in midweek in the Cup. Largely restricted Newcastle well, but Newcastle I thought were pretty wasteful in some key moments too. So I've no real issue with the prices in terms of the match odds. They're sort of where I had them here, considering where these 2 teams are right now. City have been odds-on favourites in 6 of the last 7 trips to Old Trafford. Last season, the only occasion they weren't. But I think close to evens feels fair enough, considering the defensive absentees they have. And they have only won twice in the last 6 trips in the league at Manchester United. So I know United aren't your sort of typical top 4 Premier League team, but City haven't been consistent or reliable enough to sort of beat the big teams away from home in the Premier League for quite some time now. I've gone back to 23-24 and the start of that season, which is 8 wins in 24 league games away at top half teams. They failed to win half of their 10 away days this season as well. So again, just happy to swerve the match odds, question marks over both teams really. So whilst I think City are the most likely winners, I can leave them alone here. Instead, happy to do the Adrian Clarke Classic of both teams to score under 4.5 goals and odds against price of 2.05. United really ought to cause City problems, I think, with those players back from AFCON. Šeško's, of course, scoring of late, Bruno and Cunha available. I think there's enough ability there to create and convert and hurt a defensively weakened team. But we're into mid-January now, and United still only have 2 Premier League clean sheets to their name. So I like the idea of both teams to score, but I also don't expect this game to escalate into a 5-goal game or more, because Man City away days have become quite or relatively low scoring in recent times. Only 2 of the last 18 against Premier League opposition away have gone over 3.5 goals, let alone over 4.5 goals. And of course, we've got the 1-1, the 2-2, the 2-1 or 3-1 either way here. So I think they are the most likeliest of scorelines and just swerving the match odds. So yeah, 2.05 BTTS under 4.5 goals.
Okay, jump from 154 on both teams to score. Adrian, feel free to come in on Michael Carrick if you'd like, but I watched a large part of the Newcastle City game, thinking to myself, is Semenyo a bit of a game changer for the City team, despite their defensive injuries right now?
Well, yeah, it's a good start, isn't it, for Antoine Semenyo? So yeah, look, he's a top signing, and he gives them that little bit more thrust, doesn't he, going forward? Obviously, Doku is your brilliant dribbler. But now they've got a guy that will probably more look for 1-2s or to use his pace to go vertically towards the opposition. He's a great tool for Pep Guardiola to have in the second half of the season. So yeah, that's going to make it tougher for Manchester United. Yeah, on Carrick, I think Mark was spot on, really. I mean, yeah, he's a pretty attack-minded manager, and yeah, I kind of get it. I do get it, because it didn't work replacing mid-season previously, did it? And Amorim really didn't want to come at the time. Didn't work out. It took ages to get a grip of it. So yeah, waiting to the summer to get someone they really, really want is probably prudent. And look, I don't think Carrick will do any worse than Amorim personally. But let's see. Let's see how they go. I think in this game, obviously, there'll be a little bit of a lift. The atmosphere will be boosted by the fact that, you know, one of the previous generation players is back at the helm. So yeah, it won't be an easy game for Manchester City, as Mark said, with all those injured defenders unavailable. But they are playing pretty well at the moment. Even when they were drawing those games, you know, the Sunderland game in particular, you know, they carry a big threat. They look like they're going to score a lot of goals, and they have a great record, don't they, at Old Trafford? I think they've won more Premier League games there than any other team. Only Liverpool have scored more goals at Old Trafford in the Premier League era. It's a pretty happy hunting ground for them under Pep Guardiola. Yeah, obviously they won the reverse fixture as well, 3-0. Pretty comfortable. But yeah, I think Man United can make it tougher for them. I also like both teams to score. On its own, both teams to score is 1.54, so it's a bit skinny. But if you pair that up with Man City double chance, it's a more backable 1.85. So that's my selection. I do think City should absolutely be able to avoid defeat here. I'm not going to go all in on City, because their recent record has been a bit patchy in terms of drawing games, and you've got that new manager bounce type factor for Manchester United. And of course, as Mark rightly pointed out, and Burmo and Diallo and Maguire and all these guys are back fit and available. So they do look stronger. Man United have been the both teams to score kings of the Premier League this season. 76%, which is massive, of their games have seen both teams score. Just very few clean sheets. 50%, half of City's away games have seen both teams score as well. So I can't go all in on City, but they really shouldn't be losing to this Manchester United side. So City double chance, both teams to score 185.
Okay, and if we combine Mark and Adrian's selection, nice easy one this week, we're incorporating all three of the guys' selections. City double chance, both teams to score, and under 4.5 goals. If you'd like to back that on the Matchbook Bet Builder, you get your money back as a free bet if you back exactly that, and it loses up to £10. So well worth checking that out. That's City double chance, both teams to score, and under 4.5 goals. That's 1-1, 2-1, and City 2-1 and 3-1. Thinking on the fly, I hope that's correct, and looking at Mark and thinking it is. Yes, we're happy enough to lock those 4 score lines in. And we'll move on to Spurs versus West Ham. Adrian, I'll start with you. I was asked to do a segment on the next couple of managers to be sacked about this time last week. And the two they asked me about were Thomas Frank and Nuno Espirito Santo. So here we go. They're taking each other on.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's one of those El Sacicos, isn't it? I do think if Thomas Frank was to lose at home to West Ham United, I think the toxicity that we've seen could get a little bit out of hand. It could get a bit ugly. And it might see the end for him. It wouldn't shock me if that was the case. But I think it would take a real surprise defeat to West Ham for that to happen. Nuno, he's on a sticky wicket, but I don't know who's going to take on West Ham at the moment. Would they be able to do a better job? I don't know. It's a big game, isn't it? Because they're obviously 7 points adrift now after losing to Forest. So that was a disastrous result for them. And they've got to kind of start winning games, haven't they? And they might see this as winnable. They've got a decent-ish record at Spurs, and obviously Tottenham's home form is very questionable. So yeah, they might target this game. Because the stakes are so high, I do think low goals is favourite here, under 3.5 goals. For sure. 9 of 10 Spurs home games gone under 3.5 goals. West Ham have been involved in a lot of 9 of their 10 away games have gone under 3.5 goals as well. So both teams in this sort of home or away aren't involved in loads of high scoring matches. Nuno does have a decent record. He's won 3 of 5 away games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but does anyone really fancy West Ham? It's hard to fancy them because they just don't keep clean sheets, do they? They can't defend. No clean sheet in 18 matches now for West Ham United. He wants to build a platform from a solid defence. He's been quoted on it. He said it. The secret to survival is being better at the back. But I don't know whether the personnel are good enough at the moment. So, yeah, I'm going to back... I'm going to pair under 3.5 goals with Spurs to score. And that comes in at 1.78. Spurs score in almost all of their games. At home, we know how bad they are, but they've still scored in 8 of 10 at home. And as I said, West Ham haven't kept a clean sheet in 18. So I think you've got to fancy them. Obviously, there's no Kudus. There's no Richarlison. The Kudus loss could be big, but there is an upside with Solanke back fit and available. So I think Spurs are almost certain to score. Surely against this West Ham team, I just can't go the whole hog and guarantee they're going to win the game because this is Tottenham at home, and it is a difficult place for the players to play at the moment. We've seen it with our own eyes. It all got a little bit nasty last time out with Palhinha losing his head towards the end of that game. That dressing room, they look a bit frazzled to me, and I don't think they're really enjoying playing in front of their own supporters. So, yeah, I can't back them, but I'm not going to back West Ham either. So, yeah, Spurs to score under 3.5 goals, and that's 1.78.
Okay, might have found an angle into that game. Mark, I watched the Spurs Villa game, shambles at halftime. I actually thought it could turn real toxic. 2-0 down, Spurs almost played the old Spurs, not just Ange, but just general, like going for a bit more. The crowd responded to that, and it was a lot better in the second half. Can Thomas Frank tap into any of that second half performance?
Maybe, but the evidence we have in the first few months of the season, we're mid-January now, suggests Spurs are unable to put together a strong 90-minute performance against opposition of note, particularly at home. And yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I put my bets into the sheet on Tuesday, and I hadn't done any sort of deep dive or any great preparation for the games, but I actually put Spurs to win and under 3.5 goals down as my initial selection here at 2.7. I felt really queasy doing it. I thought I'd sleep on it. There were many red flags. Having slept on it, prepped the game properly, yeah, I'm leaving Spurs alone. Because if you could oppose both teams here, you absolutely would, right? It's the for me, it's the easiest to make a case against each team rather than support them. So the obvious solution, at least to me here, was just to oppose both teams and take the bigger price, which is the draw at 4.1, which I think has to be a real runner based on all the available evidence we have. I think the obvious starting point is Spurs. The reason why I sort of considered backing them in a low-scoring game was that second half against Villa, where we saw a side of Spurs we haven't seen often enough under Thomas Frank. Can they rediscover that? Possibly. And I know they've been absolutely dull as dishwater for the most part of this season, but they have won the XG battle in 7 of 10 at home under Frank and won the shot count in 8 of those games as well. That's Premier League only. So that's a positive. They've beaten West Ham in 4 of the last 8 meetings, including 4 of the last 5 at home. And as we know, West Ham are god-awful, really. Winless in 10, 6 defeats in that sequence, 3 wins in 21 all season, just 1 on the road. And Adrian's talked about their dreadful defensive record as well. Their last away trip was to Wolves, which was utterly abysmal. So, but then you sort of widen the lens on Spurs. And this is a team who's won 4 times in 24 home league games, lost 14 of those. They've kept 6 clean sheets in their last 48 home league fixtures as well. This season they've only kept clean sheets at home against Burnley and Brentford, and when they have conceded a goal in the Premier League, they've won just once in the last 21. Then you've got the injuries stacking up. No Kudus, no Richarlison, no Bentancur, possibly, well, there won't be any Pape Sarr either, because Senegal will be involved in AFCON in some way or form. No Bergvall. Conor Gallagher might have signed today, but they're basically missing about 28 of their Premier League goal involvements this weekend, so goals or assists. For a side that struggled to carve out consistent opportunities, that's an obvious negative. So Richarlison and Kudus are both in the top 3 for XG and XA, expected goals and expected assists for Spurs in the Premier League. And remember, this team is averaging less than 1.0 expected goal per game in the Premier League when we strip out penalties. In the last 12 games, they've generated more than 1.25 XG once and averaged 0.87 expected goals, creating 1.5 big chances per game. I mean, this is all relegation numbers in terms of what they're producing in the final third. But one area they really should be targeting, West Ham, is set pieces. Only Arsenal have scored more headed goals than Spurs. West Ham have conceded a league high 11 goals from headers. And West Ham have conceded more goals from corners than any other team, 12. And Spurs have scored more from corners than anyone else, 11. So, one of my sort of long shot shortlist was Mickey van der Ven to score a header here at 9.5, but that's more of a lean for a long shot, if you like. But in terms of a proposed play, I'm going to back the draw, 4.1. 6 of Spurs' 17 games against teams outside the top 4 have ended in draws. 4 of West Ham's 8 away from home, if you exclude Arsenal and Man City, have ended in draws, as have 4 of the last 10 league games across all venues. I think it's a decent price if you can't back either side. So not expecting a thriller. I agree. I like Adrian's angle here under 3.5 goals. I think the 1-1 is a big runner here. But draw at 4.1 is my play.
Okay, great insight into Mark's prep for these podcasts and how it affects not just when he's doing the prep, but his overnight sleep and everything. But he's landed on the draw at 4.1, and for what it's worth, I can see that happening. And
I couldn't have slept if I was tipping up Spurs. There's no chance, of having an easy night.
Especially this Spurs team. Their North London rivals, Adrian, travelled to Nottingham to face Forest, who are in a weird spot. Again, I had a great weekend just watching the FA Cup. To be honest, watched Wrexham Forest, which was, oh my God, one of the best games of the season. Sean Dyche's interview for a match that was on TNT away from Broadway, off Broadway, got a lot of traction on social media. He almost threw his players under the bus, at least the players that played and started that game. Thoughts on that, and then maybe Dyche's Forest going forward, heading into this game?
Yeah, he really did lay into them. I got to be honest, I thought he scapegoated a couple of the players. I mean, Zinchenko in particular, who came off at half time. He wasn't absolutely any worse than anyone else in that game. And he was not involved in any of the goals. It wouldn't have been any of his mistakes. So I thought it was an easy thing to do, to lay into the players that he's given a chance to. But it's not easy. It's not easy when you've been out of the team and you're suddenly thrust into it, and most of the people around you have also just been thrust into it. It's not as easy as you'd think to just hit the ground running and be brilliant. So it was a bit harsh. It wasn't a good performance. Don't get me wrong, but he's lost a couple of players there, and as a consequence, I'm sure there'll be some movement in the next couple of weeks. Arsenal very rarely play well at the City Ground. That's a bit of a sort of red flag for me. It was 0-0 last season. Did win 2-1 the year before, and then got beat 1-0 the year before that. And there was also an FA Cup exit at the City Ground as well. So it's not a happy hunting ground, but I think you have to get on board with Arsenal at the moment. Obviously, the run of form is good. Excellent win with the sort of fringe players at Portsmouth in the FA Cup. Obviously, we don't know how we're going to go against Chelsea in the Cup semi-final tonight. But yeah, I can't go against Arsenal, but I'm not nailed on that there's going to be a shutout, easy 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 win. So I want to pair them with both teams to score. There might not be William Saliba tonight or at the weekend. We'll have to wait and see. I definitely don't think there's going to be a Hincapié or Calafiori, which is a real shame. Leaves Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's not in good form at the moment defensively for sure, as a slight weak link in that back line. And Arsenal have conceded in 4 of their last 5 Premier League away games. They conceded in 5 of the last 7 away games in all competitions as well. So not as watertight as you might imagine. That said, Sean Dyche's record against Arsenal, not good. His teams have never scored more than once, ever. So, and he's managed against Arsenal in 19 matches. Most of his teams who have ever scored is just the 1 goal. So I think it's a good chance Arsenal can still go and win this game. Arsenal brilliant at set pieces. We know that because saw that again at Pompey. And Forest do have a real fragility at set plays. Conceded 1 against Wrexham, I remember, but I think they're up there in the Premier League. I think only 1 team, Bournemouth, have conceded more in the Premier League from corners and wide free kicks. So that's an obvious avenue for Arsenal to target. Forest are also less good at home this season than before. Have lost 6 of 10 at the City Ground. So yeah, when I sort of add it all up, I think you've got to go with Arsenal. But I'm not going to go with the clean sheet angle here. I actually think Forest could be likely to score, but that Arsenal will outscore them. So yeah, Arsenal and both teams to score. And I also like the price. I gave you a short one last time, 1.78. I want to make it up to everyone. 3.6 is the price on Arsenal to win and both teams to score. And I think that's a definite runner.
Big price angles always welcome on this show, lads. Arsenal both teams to score. Mark, you're staying away from the goals angle. I mean, I thought Adrian Miller had good points, not just in Arsenal, maybe defensively the last few weeks, but those injuries in particular. Plus, they're also playing tonight, as I should have mentioned, in the Carabao Cup as well, Thursday night or Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, really. Saturday evening from a Wednesday night, a tough Wednesday night game away against Chelsea in that semi-final. So, yeah, they've tripped up a couple of times at the City Ground in recent years, but I just get a feeling Saturday might be a little bit different. Because more from a Forest perspective, that initial bounce they had under Dyche has tended to sort of dissipate a little bit. And I've actually been quite disappointed, quite underwhelmed in their performances over the past couple of months. They are playing like a bottom 6 team, despite having the raw materials to be pushing higher up the division. The win at West Ham was big for their season, but wasn't completely convincing at all. They were quite fortunate that VAR ruled in their favour at one particular moment. But any positivity from that match was wiped out at Wrexham, really. So I know he made 8 changes, but it was another below par effort and clearly angered Dyche. I think Forest are still struggling to look threatening in front of goal. They still seem to lack any sort of style of play or distinct style of play, and they are vulnerable from set plays. And that last point is of real concern on Saturday, as Adrian's alluded to. So Arsenal have scored 14 non-penalty set-piece goals this season, and they're playing the second worst team defending them. So that's an area to watch in particular. From a Forest perspective, again, Ibrahim Singare, he'll be back from AFCON, so that should make a difference to their midfield, but they are still conceding too many goals to sort of support or want to get on side as a big underdog here. That City Ground record has gotten worse. They've conceded 17 goals in 10 home games, which is already more than the whole of last season. So quite happy to go against them. I'm hoping, I'm working off the assumption that Saliba is available. I presume Calafiori will be missing, but if Saliba is available, suddenly I'm quite strong and confident on Arsenal here. More so as well, the fact that Arteta has shown a bit of a willingness to rotate his team a bit this season because he has those options, especially in midfield and forward areas. He's shown a bit of a reluctance in previous years to do that. But I think as long as that spine of Saliba, Gabriel and Rice are intact, I'm very comfortable being with Arsenal here. But obviously we can't back them at 158. So more palatable price for me to cheer on is the 225 when you include under 3.5 goals. So Arsenal to win 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 or 2-1. 7 of Forest's 10 home games and 8 of Arsenal's 10 away games have gone under 3.5 goals. Forest have actually failed to score in half of the home games. Arsenal have kept 4 clean sheets on the road. But if you go back to the start of last season, Arsenal have played 29 away Premier League games. 21 of those have gone under 3.5 goals. That's 72%, an average of 2.56 goals per game during that same sample. And they've only lost 4 of those 29 away games. So, quite comfortable being pro-Arsenal and opposing a high goal tally.
Okay, Mark, maybe more pro-Arsenal and maybe more anti-Forest there. So Arsenal to win under 3.5 goals for Mark 225, or take the both teams to score with that Arsenal win at 3.6. Mark, I see Brighton versus Bournemouth. I think Mark O'Haire, goals, cards. And then I look at the selection. I'm like, yes, goals, cards. It's Monday Night Football, so I think it adds. But you're a fan of both these sides, the way they set up and the way they try and play football. Now, sometimes you get these, it's the perfect combination, and we've seen this a million times and it doesn't quite happen. But how do you not guarantee it happens? But how do you find the value beforehand to say this is possibly going to happen, which is goals and cards?
I think you just got to invest your faith in the two coaches here and how they want to play and how they instruct their teams to play. And then, it's just a way of trying to make it work in your favour. So, a fantastic selection for Monday Night Football. I think everyone needs to tune into this. It's very difficult not to be expecting goals in this match, considering the teams on show and how they play. Brighton have seen both teams score in 70% of their matches under Fabian Hürzeler. Brighton go to the Amex having scored in 25 of the last 29 away league games and only 3 clean sheets on their travels. 66% of those away games have gone over 3.5 goals. But if you look at this season alone, Bournemouth's away days are absolutely bonkers, averaging 4.7 goals. Half of their 10 away games have gone over 4.5. 9 of those 10 went over 3.5, and 8 of those 10 saw both sides score. And across the campaign as a whole this season, each team has scored in 17 of 21 league games. Each of the last 5 head-to-head have gone over 2.5, and 4 of those 5 saw both sides score. So you can see why the market is quite short on goals, but you can absolutely understand why anyone, including myself, would want to try and engineer something goals-based for this match. So my route in is to back Brighton to score over 1.5 goals and the match to feature over 2.5 cards. It's almost even money, 1.95. Brighton have scored twice or more in 4 of 6 head-to-head, including 3 or 4 at the Amex. They've also been pretty hot at home for quite a while. 2 league losses in 18 at home. They've scored twice or more in 7 of 10 at home already this season. Average 1.8 goals, 1.7 expected goals. Selection-wise as well, they've basically got everyone of importance available in midfield and attack, which I think is quite key. Whereas Bournemouth have obviously just lost Semenyo, Kluivert is injured, Unal is injured, Christie is injured, Tyler Adams is injured. Semenyo is obviously the big loss, 13 goal contributions. That's 38%. But then when you add in the goal contributions of the other players, it comes to 21 overall. So that's quite a significant sum. And I think whilst Brighton will always give you chances, Bournemouth have the capacity to do damage here, especially with Krupi leading the line and his hit rate. But defensively, they've just been all at sea, especially away from home. 2.9 goals per game conceded on average in 10 away games. 9 of their opponents have scored at least twice when hosting Bournemouth. 2.33 expected goals per game, 30 big chances allowed in those 10 games. So I think Brighton to score twice is very plausible, and I'll package it alongside those cards. Just over 2.5 required here. Paul Tierney is refereeing just his second top flight game since returning this season. He's given 3 or more in 8 of 11 already this season, and I think he's going to be tested by these two teams. We've got 2 of the top 3 for cards and 2 of the top 3 for fouls, crossing swords. And 7 of Brighton's 10 home games have featured at least 4 cards, and 8 of Bournemouth's 10 away games have also featured at least 4 cards. We're only looking for 3 here to get paid at almost evens alongside those Brighton goals.
Okay, lock that in. And Adrian, I hope Mark hasn't stolen too many of your notes on the goals angles here, but I'm guessing he has. There's only so many stats, isn't there?
Of course he has, but it's okay. I've got more. It's fine. I can just package it in a different way.
Give us some Monday Night Football stats.
Yeah, I'm working on this for the global audience on the Premier League app outside the UK.
Very good.
Listen in. I think I've picked a good game to work on as well. So this is helping with my research. So thank you very much for picking it. Look, Bournemouth. Mark packaged it up that they've let in 2 or more. No, at least 2 in 9 of 10 away games. Well, they've actually conceded 3, at least 3, in 7 of 10 away games, which is just shocking, really. Absolutely disastrous. So if you want to go over 2.5 goals, which is part of my selection here, it's every chance that Brighton will cover that themselves. But Bournemouth can score goals. We know that. Even without Semenyo, they're an attack-minded team. And they'll always try and give it a go. And I think that's why this looks like a really, really good game. Both teams to score is always a good angle, I think, here. It's not part of my selection, but I wouldn't put anyone off of it. Brighton have 41 of 59 matches under Hertzler have seen both teams score, which is a very high percentage, just shy of 70%. That's the most of any manager. No, I prefer Brighton double chance and over 2.5 goals here because of Bournemouth's absolutely abysmal away record in terms of their defending. I just think they're going to find it really difficult to win this game, Bournemouth. Brighton, the only team that they've lost to in their last 18 Premier League home games is Villa. They've lost twice to them. No one else in the last 18, which covers a long, long time, nearly a year. No one else has gone there and won. So, do we really think Bournemouth, shorn of Semenyo, are going to go there and win? I can't see it personally. On the goals angle, 67% of Bournemouth's matches go over 2.5 goals. And wait for it, 90% of their matches away from home, surprise, surprise, go over 2.5 goals. So, yeah, look, I think that there's every chance here. Brighton games, 6 of 10 have gone over as well. Bournemouth and Brighton have both scored in 17 of 21 matches this season. So it's unlikely that they'll both blank. It's unlikely that Brighton won't score at least 2. And that means that this selection should be a winner. So, yeah, Brighton double chance, over 2.5 goals, 1.96. Not bad.
Okay, take your pick of which selection you want to go with. And insights.matchbook.com, full recap of all of Mark's and Adrian's selections there. As I know, we bring a lot of bets to the table each and every week, but there is a recap available on Matchbook Insights. You can just search that in your search bar as well. Mark, 2 selections for you in the any other bets. Let's start with Leeds versus Fulham. And I think Leeds' incredible form, they've had too many draws in there that they feel like they're further away from the drop zone. I know 8 points is huge and they take it every day of the week, but their form almost deserves a win. And this maybe is the opportunity to get 3 points and push themselves even further up the table against a Fulham side who are just 2 points off the top 5.
Yeah, Fulham have snuck up there very quietly. I was surprised when I looked at the league table doing the analysis for this game, how they managed to position themselves there. But yeah, I like this game. I like goals in this game. I think both teams arrive in good form, playing decent football right now. And I think crucially, as always, for both teams to score bet, both teams will fancy their chances of picking up a positive result. And yeah, Leeds' 8-game unbeaten run ended with that thrilling 4-3 defeat at Newcastle, where they led the game 3 times and then managed to concede twice in stoppage time to lose. A real sickener for Daniel Farke. But overall, I thought another very positive performance from Leeds. Yeah, they're up as high as 6th now in the 8-game expected points table, which kind of highlights their improvement. And again, sort of suggests they probably deserve more points on the board than they have so far this season. But at Ellen Road, they've been particularly impressive. They rank 4th in terms of the home expected points table, 6th in terms of home XG process, 4th in terms of big chance supremacy. They've won the non-penalty expected goals battle in 8 of those 10 Ellen Road games. In 7 of those, they've won the shot battle. In 8 of those, they've won the shots on target battle. And it's not like they've had an easy schedule because they've hosted Villa, Chelsea, Liverpool, Palace, Spurs, Newcastle, Man United, Bournemouth, etc. And they've hosted just 1 bottom 4 team. So they command respect. I think the market is giving them that respect by rating them alongside Fulham. They're at 2.32 to win this game. But yeah, I'm interested in goals and goals for both sides because Leeds have scored 3 goals or more in 3 of their last 4 at home. They've also scored now in 10 of the last 11 home or away and 14 of their past 17 in the Premier League. Calvert-Lewin's in brilliant form, 8 goals in 9, but also a shout out to Brendan Aronson too for his rejuvenation. But yeah, despite all that positivity, Leeds have only managed 3 clean sheets this season, none at Ellen Road since August. And both teams to score has been the right selection in 67% of their league games, including 8 of 10 at Ellen Road. They're facing a Fulham side in decent form, unbeaten in 6, 4 wins in that sequence. They scored in each of the last 10, 18 goals in that 10-game sample. And yeah, they've moved up to 9th, just 4 points off the top 4. But overall this season, they've scored in 18 of 21, Only Arsenal and Chelsea have a better scoring hit rate than Fulham this season in the Premier League, which is remarkable, really. They scored an 8 of 10 away, but just 5 clean sheets all season. Just one of those came away. 7 of 10 away have seen both sides score. And so, yeah, I'm quite happy to hit up both teams to score here, trading at 1.8. I think that's a really nice price, considering where these two teams are and how they will approach this match.
Okay, and the same bet for Parma versus Genoa. Parma away to Napoli tonight in Serie A. So we're recording Wednesday evening. But also, I was looking at the goals that they've scored. They're the second lowest scorers in the league, Mark. So is it both teams to score? No. Why is it both teams to score? Yes.
Because Genoa are involved. And I'm very aware listeners or readers of my Insights column might get a bit bored of me talking and writing about Genoa. But whilst the market kind of continues to offer these lines and prices, I have to keep on hitting them. It's really strange. Ordinarily, it takes the market's time to adjust to new trends or following manager changes, but it's almost as if it's not aware that Patrick Vieira left at the end of September, which is now 3.5 months ago. I don't want to repeat myself too much here, but Genoa are just a completely different team now. They scored just 4 goals in 9 games under Vieira. Since he's gone, they've gone 4-4-3 in terms of win, draws, losses, scoring 18 goals in 11 games. They've scored in 10 of those 11. They've scored twice or more in 6 of 8 if you exclude games against Roma, Inter and Atalanta, the better teams they faced. 7 of those 11 have gone over. 9 of those 11 have seen both sides score. They're really fun to follow. Those 11 games are averaging 263 expected goals, yet the goal lines and the prices just aren't reacting. So we can back both teams to score in this match at evens. Over 2.5 goals is actually 2.62. But I'll take a swing at BTTS because it has a 100% win rate when Genoa play away from home this season. 9 from 9 in the Serie A have gone both teams scoring. We're getting evens on a repeat here. And yeah, Parma aren't the great entertainers, absolutely not. They have scored in 8 of the last 11, though, and their only clean sheet in that spell came against bottom 3 teams. And 6 of those 11 saw both sides score. So yeah, I think with Genoa's involvement, we can see both sides score. It just feels like a bit of a sustainable edge, really supporting goals in Genoa games while the market is not reacting to what's happening on the field.
Okay, that's me told anyway. We will go to agents to EFL selection, starting with Oldham versus Cheltenham, mid to lower end of the League 2 table here to start with.
Yeah. I mean, not 2 of the most exciting sides. No. Cheltenham have sort of come back after a disastrous start to the season. Steve Cotterill came in and they've improved massively. Results have been a bit more inconsistent lately, but he's tightened them up and yeah, they're much improved. Oldham have been quite dull, I have to say, this season. And really, when you sort of look at this fixture, my immediate thoughts was, that looks like a 0-0, 1-0 either way type of game. And I was just looking for a way in. Under 2.5 goals on its own isn't enough because the stats that I'll read you out are quite strong, and both teams to score no isn't enough on its own. So I will package them together, the under 2.5 and both teams to score no. So you're looking at 0-0, 1-0 either way, or 2-0 either way, and that comes out 2.3. These are the 2 lowest BTTS merchants in League 2. Older matches, 42% of them have seen both teams score. Cheltenham 40%. So the odds are on our side in that respect. 67% of older matches have gone under 2.5 goals. They've blanked 9 times. 60% of Cheltenham matches have gone under 2.5. They've blanked 8 times. Both teams are only averaging 1 goal a game this season. They love a clean sheet as well. Oldham have got the most. They're lower mid-table, Oldham, but they've got the most clean sheets in League 2, 10. And Cheltenham, who are sort of making their way up from near the bottom, they've also got 7 clean sheets of their own. So, yeah, not high scorers, but pretty solid at the back, both of these. So when you think about this potential matchup, I just see it being a pretty tame, dullish affair. So, yeah, 2.3 is the price, under 2.5, both teams score no.
Okay, and second selection comes from Wrexham versus Norwich. We touched on Wrexham's great 3-3 draw and ultimate penalty shootout win against Nottingham Forest. So can they bring that into the league?
Yeah, well, it's the opposite, really. Like Wrexham are fun. Wrexham are a good watch. They face the most shots in the Championship, but every time they win the ball, they look like they're going to score. It's, I've seen a lot of them lately, and they're very, very dangerous. They come at you from all angles. Even without Kiefer Moore, I don't know if he'll be back for this match or not, But even without him, they're looking really menacing every time they go forward. But you can never bank on Wrexham keeping a clean sheet. So yeah, this one it is the old-fashioned. I'm going down that route again. Yeah, both teams score under 4.5 goals. It's odds against 2.1. Both teams score on its own is 1.66, and obviously that's just a little bit skinny. So that's why I couple it in with the under 4.5. Both teams to score has landed in 77% of Wrexham's home games. That's the joint most in the division. So the Racecourse Ground seeing lots of goals this season. Norwich away games have been a lot of fun. 85% of their away games have seen both teams score. That's the second most in that department. And it's because Norwich, even though they're sat in the bottom three, play better away. They're more comfortable on the road, and they certainly score more goals away from home. They've scored in all but one game away from Carrow Road this season. That's not bad for a team, I think, second bottom as we stand. 12 of 13 games they've scored in. As for the unders shout, 85% of Wrexham games under, 88% of Norwich games under. So, strong possibilities there. I would suggest that we won't get five or six goals in this particular match. So yeah, look, loads of score lines. This is going to get on board, and you're getting odds against. So yeah, both teams to score under 4.5, 2.1.
Okay, that's for Wrexham versus Norwich. Let's move on to long shot time. And Mark, you think you found one in the Championship? So Swansea, both teams to score no at home to Birmingham.
Yeah, Swansea are reasonable outsiders at home to Birmingham in the evening kickoff in the Championship. 288 on the Matchbook Exchange to win this game. And I think there's a few reasons why Swansea are a little bit underrated and can get a big result here. For starters, they've shown a decent amount of improvement under Vitor Matos' appointment. He arrived on the 24th of November. Swansea did have games on the 25th and the 29th. They lost both by the odd goal, but showed more ambition, more adventure. And since then, things have been pretty positive, actually, particularly at home. So it's 5 wins in 8 and 4 successive home wins for Swansea. It's moved them away from danger into 17th. They are now only 2 points behind Birmingham. Birmingham are a bit of a data darling in the Championship, hence their position here as favourites. But the majority of that has come at St Andrews. Chris Davis is coming under increasing pressure due to their sort of inconsistency and their inability just to get results on the road. They've won once in 8 coming into this game. But most importantly, they've taken just 1 point from the last 7 away games. And there have been issues, kind of ongoing issues all season with their away performances, where they've gone 2-2-9 in terms of wins, draws and losses. Watford, QPR and Sheffield United have kind of beat them up in the last 3 away days. And I think Swansea can pile a bit more misery on Birmingham. They'll see this as a good opportunity. And I think I'm quite happy to turn that 288 on the home side, winning this game, into Swansea to win and BTTS no at 4-1, 5.0. 4 of those 5 wins under Matos have come alongside a clean sheet, and it's now just 6 goals conceded in 8 games under his tutorship following those defeats in his first week in charge. As for Birmingham, that dreadful away record, they don't just lose often, but they score very few goals in their travels. 8 away goals all season. That's 0.62 per game. They've already lost without scoring in 6 of 13 away days, and they're averaging just 0.87 expected goals when we take away penalties. So the underlying metrics reflect the actual goals output here, which is pretty poor, and suggests they might struggle to open up Swansea consistently on Saturday evening. So quite happy to take that 4-1, Swansea to win to 0, Swansea and BTTS no at 5.0.
Okay, lock that in. And Adrian, also excited about this selection. Wolves don't seem to be playing like the team that they are in the league table. I think most people are with that theory, but can they keep producing performances when the results aren't quite going their way, although they have picked up the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, look, they're doing all right at the moment, Wolves. They've won back-to-back games at home. Okay, 6-1 against Shrewsbury Town.
And just on the Shrewsbury game, Adrian, I know Shrewsbury Town, some of the football Wolves played some of the goals they scored was quite good.
Really good. Yeah, no, they're looking much, much better. They were excellent against West Ham, weren't they? Everyone's sort of focusing on how rotten Nuno's team were, but Wolves were really good in that game. I've looked at some of the numbers. Their defensive stats are much improved across the last 5 games. Obviously, they're 3 unbeaten. They drew at Old Trafford. They beat West Ham and they drew Everton, didn't they? So, they're on a bit of a roll, and I just give them a puncher's chance here. Rob Edwards seems to have kind of released the handbrake a little bit. I don't know if you've seen their midfield unit. It's a lot better. It's a lot more bolder, more enterprising than it has been. So it was sort of Joao Gomez and Andre, which is a little bit functional and defensive. Well, the last 3 games, he's gone with Joao Gomez, flanked by Mateus Mane, who's a very exciting teenager, who's got a lot of skill, and John Arias, who really is a forward or a right winger. He's been playing as a box-to-box midfielder and has looked good in those matches. So there's a little, they're kind of going for it, and I like that. Arocadore looks better. He's very dangerous in the air. Hwang's going here, there, and everywhere, opening up space for others. There's actually a fair bit to like about Wolves at the moment, and we know that Newcastle don't travel well. They've lost at West Ham, at Brentford, at Sunderland, and at Manchester United, all since the start of November. Newcastle United, they didn't score at Bournemouth and Leeds before that. You can never guarantee this group winning on the road, even against the likes of Wolves. They did win at Burnley recently, but that wasn't convincing. Burnley had a lot of chances in that game, and on another day, I think Burnley could have won the game, let alone drawn it. So, yeah, I'll just give them a shot here. It's 10 consecutive meetings, by the way, where both teams have scored in this fixture. Wolves versus Newcastle, which is the most of any exact fixture. That's games at Molineux, the most of any fixture in Premier League history. So perhaps both teams will score. But yeah, I'm going to go with Wolves and under 4.5 goals. So I'm just going to give them a chance here. The unders, all but one Newcastle away game has gone under 4.5 goals, and Wolves' last 6 games have all gone under 4.5 goals as well. They are defending with a little bit more assurance now. They've had a little bit of a rejig at the back. They get Sarr's back in goal. Agbadou's been axed. It's a different looking rear guard, and I thought, look, it's a long shot for a reason, but it could happen. And if it does, I don't think they can they? But they might start to believe. It's 5.0 anyway. Wolves and under 4.5.
I know it's only one result. That Forest late winner against West Ham seemed big for more Wolves rather than West Ham, although they're doomed as well, to be fair. But you never know. Especially if they get a run. And as you said, some exciting young players in that Wolves team. Mane in particular, big fan of him. Mark, League On, PSG have won 11 of the last 13 league titles. So some people might be surprised to see Lens, who've only ever won it, I think, once in 98, top of the league after the winter break. They came back 1-3 away to Toulouse. Can they sustain this run and give PSG a real scare this year?
Yes, but whether they're going to win the league is probably a no. But they did go very close a few years back, and they finished runners-up. I forget who it was under, but they are one of the stories of the season, I think, across European football. Actually, the fact that they are leading Liga, 13 wins from their opening 17 games. They actually lost their first game of the season, but they come into this weekend against Auxerre, having won 10 of the last 11 games, including that 3-0 win away at Toulouse you mentioned. Last weekend in the Coupe de France, they went away to Sochaux, and they won that game convincingly as well. They look pretty unstoppable right now, which is quite remarkable considering where they were at the start of the season. Will Still had left for Southampton, and they were looking like they're going to undergo a bit of a transitional period because a lot of their sort of high-profile players were moved on, and the club president basically refused to spend the money on new signings because he didn't want to. Basically, the financial picture in France right now is very, very bleak. So, it's more about sustaining the club rather than sort of going out and making like-for-like replacements. But, Pierre Sarge has come in and repurposed the squad, and they've just been absolutely bloody brilliant, so consistent, particularly at home. They're playing at the Stade Bollard de l'Hélice, which is always sold out. I think it's been sold out for about 4 or 5 years on the spin. They always create a cracking atmosphere. And since that opening defeat against Lyon, they've won 7 on the spin at home, scoring 16 goals, conceding just 3. And this weekend they host second bottom Auxerre, 11 defeats and 17 for the visitors, who are winless and have taken just 2 points in their 8 away games, scoring only 4 goals, conceding 16. So that's 2 per game. And if you look at the underlying metrics when Auxerre play away, they are a minus 0.9 non-penalty expected goal supremacy on the road. Basically, that means exclude penalties, and their opposition are averaging almost 1 expected goal more than O'Haire, which is pretty poor. They're giving up 3.75 big chances per game on their travels as well. So you just have to be pro Lens here. How do you play it? They're about 1.5 to win this game. The market is expecting goals, but it's not really the way that Lens tend to go about their business. They're not often involved in shootouts. Only 2 of their 17 games have seen 4 goals or more. Only 1 of those 17 games have featured 5 goals or more. So I think the combination of Lens and under 4.5 goals at 182 really appeals to me here. 16 of O'Haire's 17 matches have also produced fewer than 5 goals. So yeah, as long as Lens win 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 2-1 or 3-1, we will get paid at 182. Very difficult to see them getting beaten this weekend.
Okay, and our final bet for you, Adrian, your best bet is Villa at home to Everton. Watching the Spurs-Villa game on Saturday, the first half in particular, Villa were amazing. And it's almost like they've won their way into form and now they're backing it up with the performances, if that makes sense. I think this is a really, really good team Emery's building.
Yeah, it's a really good team. Yeah, they made Spurs look like statues, didn't they, in that first half? I mean, two lovely goals, 2 team goals. They do have a couple of injuries. I think Camara is a doubt, and Nana, I think, is out as well at the moment. So that's a bit of a blow in central midfield. But the rest of the team looks in rude health, doesn't it? Although Daniel Marlon, I see, is being linked with a move to Roma on loan with an obligation, which I think it'd be a shame to lose him because he's been a very handy sub this season. So I can only imagine that they're in for someone else. There are whispers of Tammy Abraham, I think, maybe rocking up at Villa Park in the coming days and weeks. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, very similar really to what Mark was talking about with Lens, where the atmosphere is great, by the way. It's a terrific stadium, great fans. But Villa Park is a fortress as well, isn't it, for Aston Villa? They've won 8 of 10 at home this season, and they are on fire. You know, they've won 13 of their last 16 games in the Premier League, full stop. The only teams they've dropped points against are Liverpool, Arsenal, and their perennial bogey team, Crystal Palace. They just can't buy a win against Palace for whatever reason. So everyone else is getting beat at the moment by Aston Villa, and I think Everton are likely to get beat here. That's why I was surprised to see Villa trading at 1.78 at home, given their record. But you can boost it to even money, 2.0, if you do what Mark did for the Lens game and go under 4.5 goals. 18 of 21 Everton games have gone under. All but one of their away games has gone under as well. And Villa, well, you know, every home game has gone beneath that threshold as well. So, yeah, I do like the look of this. Everton, a proper stretch. They're kind of down to the bare bones. Michael Keane is suspended for the old hair pull. Grealish still suspended. No Idrissa Gueye or Iliman Ndiaye still away at AFCON. They might parachute Jared Branthwaite back in, but they're still, you know, very light. There's no Dewsbury Hall yet either. And this is the killer stat, really. Against the top 8 this season, there have been 24 points up for grabs, and Everton have taken 4 from 24. And 3 of those were against Manchester United. So their record against the division's best is pretty poor this season. So, yeah, I think you've got fancy Villa here and under 4.5 goals, 2.0.
Yeah, talked a lot of Everton fans. Atmosphere is turning there a little bit, particularly that FA Cup, both performance, team picked, and going out of the FA Cup as well. So, yeah, Villa and under 4.5 goals for Adrian. Best bet on the card. My thanks to both the lads. We'll be back on Monday to preview the Champions League's return. Long awaited return, bit of a break. I think we have 2 games left in the Champions League before we head to those knockout stages. Insights.matchbook.com, a full recap, as I said, for the guys' picks. And if you can take 2 seconds to hit that like button, it's much appreciated. It's all we ask for the podcast and helps our content get out to a wider audience. Enjoy this weekend's Premier League football. Should be a good one. We'll chat to you all on Monday. Bye-bye.